Hello, dear students. Today I am going to talk about David Malouf's poem The Wild Lemon. As you know, David Malouf is an Australian poet. His poem Wild Lemons is one of the significant poems of his poetic career, as the poem has several layers. The poem does not only touch on the themes like the meaning of life and the past, but also it weaves philosophical questions. The poem Wild Lemons is the poet's recollection of the memories from the past. The poet lived in the island country of Australia before moving to the United Kingdom. In this poem, he discusses about one of his experiences from Australia that still revolves around his mind. In the beginning of the poem, the poet refers to his past and his present. He describes about an experience when he was traveling with his friends in Australia. He was on a road which would lead nowhere, but the wild lemons on the road surrounded him. Then he goes on to describe the wild lemon trees. The lemon fruit was covered with tough skin. The skin was harder than the regular lemons, and its branches were covered with thorns. The poet says that since wild lemon trees are growing amidst such a deserted road, there must be someone who planted this. The sunlight helps the lemons to grow, which would be later used to make drinks. The poet David Malouf further urges about the island where the lemon tree was located. It was a warm weather where the poet and his friends were humming in the midnight. They were worried about finding their way back home. They discussed their plans, taking deep breaths. The poet also mentions that the sea waves were constantly hitting the seashore. The poet further asserts that the present stays with us forever. He says that the saturated deep silence of the present moment is like the tempting flute which allures stars to walk over the water. Sipping alcohol with his friends, the poet thinks about the weather of his homeland in Australia. He thinks that even though the surroundings and climate are different, his body and mind remain the same. He further says that time does not wait for anyone. With the moving of time, things get changed. Even the congealed clouds melt with the time, but the smell of the wild lemons remain the same. The wild lemon of United States smells the same, just like it smelled in Australia. So the smell of wild lemon stays forever with the poet, even if he moves to a completely different region of the earth. In this poem, the poet Malouf tries to map the encounters between self and other, tensions between exile and home, and the relations between individual and continuous present. The poem may be read in context of identity politics also. It is true that Malouf objects viewing his poetry from a homoerotic or gay perspective, though he was a gay. Yet, several of his poems, including Revolving Days and Wild Lemons, can be read in relation to sexual politics. In Wild Lemons, the body is metaphorized as the wild smelling lemons across blazed trunks and nurtured by the warmth of an island. The Wild Lemon is a 32-line poem. It is contained within a single stanza. The poem is written in free verse. The poet in this poem has refused to choose a specific scheme or metrical pattern, but the poet makes use of a few different literary devices, for example, imagery, ingement, and caesura. The poem basically aims to understand and reimagine Australia's identity and the landscape. In this poem, the poet Malouf depicts Australia with personal anecdote, around which place, time, and memory gradually evolved. Thank you.